What y'all listening to?
Limelight Highlight Podcast.
What is going on, my fellow listeners? Hope you guys keeping your hands washed and cleaned. It's another week of this pandemic. It got spread to April 30th? April 30th. It's crazy. Welcome back to the podcast. The Positive Podcast, a safe space and great place for a positive outlook on life. We got a packed show for you today. I hope you're not getting tired of hearing about the coronavirus news, because we got some more for you. Like how they found a way to sterilize and reuse face masks since there's a huge shortage. Then we'll go over some more little bit of lighthearted news about elephants in Thailand. And lastly, we'll go over how a Mother's Day gift can help support a woman farmer. But before all that, if you didn't know, Pringles aren't actually potato chips. I don't think I've ever met anybody who doesn't like Pringles, since they come in a variety of flavors. They're delicious. But one thing you probably didn't know is that they're actually not potato chips. Next time you look at a can of Pringles, the word chip is nowhere to be found on the package. And that's because Pringles aren't made of thinly sliced potatoes the way a bunch of other chips are. Or nachos or whatever thing that you're eating, that munchy snack. Instead, it's made by pressing dehydrated potato flakes together, shaped into that curved shaped thing that people like to make look like a duck beak. It's also why they're less greasy. But because the other potato chips, like the other companies, they're a bunch of haters, and the FDA said that they couldn't market them themselves as chips, so Pringles settled on the word potato crisps. So that's what they're called. They're Pringles Potato Crisps. Pretty interesting information that has absolutely nothing, once again, to do with the podcast. Just wanted to share that. But now that you're enlightened, let's get on with today's show. So recently in the news, I'm sure you've heard, there's been a significant amount of coverage on how unprepared we were for this recent pandemic. Specifically in the area of hospital shortages and their lack of sufficient test kits, face masks, and other protective equipment for emergency responders and medical workers. And although I'm an aviation mechanic, the helicopter I work on would be considered a flying ambulance. So although I don't see everything that the nurses and medics are doing and, the type of work they do, I do see that the precautions and concerns that they have for supplies and equipment are constant. One of the shortages being discussed on the news more and more are face masks. You probably heard these specific face masks be referred to as the N95 face masks, and seeing how that these face masks are supposedly cost 75 cents and how frequently they're used, you would think that hospitals would have an abundance of them, but they don't. Doctors and nurses and other medical personnel are being told to reuse these N95 face masks over and over again until they're so soiled that you can't use them anymore. I don't know what part of that sounds helpful or even sanitary, especially in the time that we're dealing with right now with this pandemic, but not to worry. Where there's a problem, there are people diligently working on a solution, and researchers from Duke Health University and clinical teams in North Carolina have found that they found a specific method or a special method or a commonly used method of decontamination to clean and reuse these masks. Now, there's a lot of technical terms and words that I was not used to seeing while reading and going over this, so bear with me while I relay this information. The word aerosolized means to convert into a fine spray. Now, part of the technique to clean these masks is to use a specialized equipment that aerosolizes hydrogen peroxide, which spreads throughout the layers of the masks to kill germs, including viruses, without destroying or damaging the actual material that the mask is made of. Like the old saying goes, where there's a will, there's a way. And as interesting as this method is for cleaning these masks, the technology and method isn't actually all that new. In fact, they've been using this method for years in biocontainment labs, not just specifically one. But this was actually tested and published by others in 2016. But I'm guessing since there wasn't a huge need for this specific technology to decontaminate these masks, it wasn't really widely adopted. And the other, or the one thing that wasn't not tested back then was the fit test after cleaning. So, I mean, the fit test, if you didn't know, it's basically the sizing of the mask for individual wearers to show that it's effective in real life scenarios. They never got to that portion, but the reason this is news right now is because before they never had a need to or considered using it for something like face masks, that biocontainment lab decontamination thing. Luckily, they were able to prove that it works and are immediately using the technology right now in all 3 Duke Health hospitals or regions. And the decontamination process is helping out in a number of ways right now. It's helping keep a significant number of these face masks clean, in use, also in use at these regions. And it's helping some of the shortage, and it's deterring the need for other places to use unproven methods of decontamination and possibly making the pandemic worse. Another great point to this decontamination process that I wasn't aware of until after I read this was that hydrogen peroxide actually breaks down to water, which means there's no toxic byproducts to be worried about while they decontaminate these face masks. And this is news as of March 27th, so it's fairly new. That being said, the Duke team is working diligently to spread the word about the technique that they're using and helping make it widely available. And even more good news is that several health systems and pharmaceutical companies already have the equipment available. It's just being used in different ways. So once the word gets out, we'll see an increase in use of this specific method. And even though this won't solve the problem of the shortage, I think it's a great way to help ease the industry. And it's a proven way to stay safe and clean, even if the mask is used for a day or two. Now to change a couple gears on some other news. Back in 2013, while I was serving in the Marine Corps, I was attached to a ship for about 9 months. Kind of sucked. But during that time, we visited a few places. And one of the more fun places that I was fortunate enough to visit was Thailand. On top of the great weather, nice people, food, shops, and amazing tourist attractions, one of the greatest and unfortunately sometimes the saddest things I've witnessed while in Thailand were the elephants. I know it's a big thing, tourist attraction, these elephants for a lot of people. But these huge animals are exploited and abused in all types of really cruel ways in Thailand. Some businesses would call themselves elephant sanctuaries, but in reality, they just would make these elephants give people rides all day long and kind of abuse them and put them in terrible encampments, I guess. Now, while there are some legitimate sanctuaries in Thailand, I'm not sure if they allow people to ride them, so I can only speak on face value of what they say. One of the great actual sanctuaries in Thailand is Elephant Nature Park. It's in northern Thailand. And their mission is to protect and care for mistreated elephants rescued from the tourism and logging industries. As awesome as that company or that sanctuary sounds, that's not really what we're going to cover today. I think it's safe to say that in this age, the age that we're living in right now of the internet and technology, it's pretty easy to highlight and dismiss and even in some cases ruin businesses through the internet. With that being said, I want to talk about the Maesa Elephant Camp in Chiang Mai. Excuse my pronunciation of these places, as I don't speak what they speak in Thailand. So pretty much tourism has been plummeting like crazy in Thailand due to the coronavirus. No surprise there. The Maesa Elephant Camp in Chiang Mai has 78 elephants, and here's where the good news actually starts. For the first time in 44 years, elephants didn't start their day off with seats being strapped to their backs. Another silver lining out of this pandemic that we're going through right now. In Chiang Mai, there are approximately 93 elephant camps of different sizes. Due to this virus, 85 of those 93 camps are facing closure unless things start to get better and turn around. And one thing I will commend this specific camp on is that not only did they remove the chairs from the backs of these elephants, they're planning on changing their whole business to allow the elephants to roam freely on the grounds and operate as a place for visitors to observe the animals. In the article that I read, they vowed that the elephants will never wear chairs again, which is a huge plus for me anyway. The Maeza camp entered into the business of, I guess, elephant tourism in 1976, and finally that they're changing their ways their business is ran, which in my opinion is a great thing. They even stated that they want to change the style of the place to find more natural ways that the public can enjoy the elephants in a natural way instead of using them to entertain tourists as a vehicle where they get ridden all day long. Overall, as long as they keep their word, I think that this business will be more profitable and more enjoyable to be at, making the animals and humans a lot more happy, in my opinion. We're kind of in the age where people like to really, especially when it comes to wildlife or animals, see them in their natural habitat. So without having chairs on their backs, maybe this will be, or it's definitely a step in the right direction as long as they keep on with what they're saying and people can really enjoy these animals and see these elephants the way they're supposed to be, free, without any people riding on them, and kind of a learning thing. So I thought that was some silver lining news within this pandemic. But on to another subject. Now this wouldn't be Limelight Highlight without me talking about the ecosystem and how we have to save it, right? So this next story is about Treatum. Now, Treatum is an organization that I will get to in a bit. But for now, I want to focus on the story that Treatum is kind of prompted. If you didn't know, a tree absorbs carbon dioxide, boosts biodiversity, and provides farmers in developing countries with an additional revenue source. The first fact is simple, but the rest was a little razzle-dazzle for you to get informed on what else trees might also do. Treatum is the organization behind this great idea, and since as of right now it's still marching with everything going on, I wasn't really able to highlight and pay homage to all the women who deserve it. So along, whatever comes after March is April, and after April is May, and Mother's Day is right around the corner. And I figured this would be a great time to fill you in on a cool concept that really piqued my interest while I was reading the story. And the way it works is if you or someone you know is looking for a meaningful and purposeful gift, like a Mother's Day gift perhaps, since we're coming up on May and you can't really leave the house anyway, so this is a really good gift to give a mother coming up in May, since this thing's going until April 30th. You can adopt a tree for less than $17, which helps pay farmers to grow, plant, and maintain the tree. Saplings are planted on cooperative farms, and get this, many of them are run by women, and around half the trees are fruit trees. So this helps out those women farmers in a few ways. They have better food security. They can sell the fruit at their local market to earn some extra income, and some female farmers can actually earn up to around estimated, because they did this in like a different denomination than dollars, but when I converted it, it turns out to be a little over $3,346.38 extra per year just from selling fruit. The majority of women that work in the developing world work in agriculture. But like many women throughout the history, they face gender-specific barriers like lack of access to finance and education, also as lack of access to land, which means women-run farms on average can earn 30% less than farms run by men in these developing countries. Not only that, but females are around 80% of the people displaced by global warming. So we got some serious work to do. And that company Treatum that I keep referring to is launching their Mother's Day campaign to encourage people